Imagine just speaking a luxury website into existence. Beat. You don't write a single line of CSS. You don't wrestle with JavaScript. You just describe a cinematic vision, and you watch it materialize on your screen.
Yeah.
It feels almost like magic, you know? But the reality of how it happens is actually far more interesting than magic.
Oh, absolutely. I mean, it completely upends the traditional web development model. We are moving from manually stacking bricks to essentially architecting the entire building through specialized language.
Yeah.
And the technical mechanics of how that translation happens from human intent to a fully functioning DOM structure is just fascinating.
Welcome to the Deep Dive. We are unpacking a rather brilliant source guide today. It explores how to use Fable 5, specifically inside Claude code, to build a high-end cinematic website.
That's a really good read.
Yeah, the journey we are taking today starts with structuring your initial vision. From there, we are going to break down the architecture of the mega prompt, examine the AI's iterative build process, and finally look at the reality of deploying what you've made.
And we should probably note the timing here. Anthropic has extended Fable 5 access on paid plans.
Right.
They're giving 50% higher weekly rate limits through July 19, 2026.
Wow!
Yeah, so this isn't just an abstract theory anymore. It is a highly accessible window for anyone wanting to test the absolute edges of AI front-end generation.
Which means this is the perfect time to experiment. Let's start with the foundation. There is a crucial realization you have to make before you even open a terminal window or, a chat interface. AI does not read your mind.
It definitely doesn't.
No. It demands meticulously curated inputs.
You are essentially setting up the cognitive boundaries for the model.
That is the perfect way to frame it. The guide actually grounds this in a fictional test project called Noir.
Right, the watch brand.
Yeah, it's a Swiss luxury watch brand. And the point they make is you cannot just prompt the model to build a cool watch website.
No, you can't.
You are going to get boilerplate garbage. You have to lock down 3 strict prerequisites before you even begin. Let's walk through those. The first one is a crystal clear concept.
Right.
You need to know the target audience, the exact feeling you want to evoke. For Aurum Noir, it's premium and minimal.
Yeah.
And you need a primary call to action. Here, it is book a private viewing.
The second prerequisite involves visual references. You need 2 or 3 inspiration sites saved in a folder. We are talking about highly specific layouts or typography styles you want the AI to emulate. The model needs a baseline of what you actually consider good.
And the third piece, which I find the most interesting from a systems perspective, is organizing your assets.
Yeah, this is huge.
Your logos, founder portraits, selected fonts, and the brand copy. But the guide emphasizes creating an asset map.
An asset map is just non-negotiable for a project of this scale. You are essentially giving the LLM a spatial understanding of the file directory.
Right.
It tells the AI precisely where each image or block of text should be injected into the HTML structure later on.
I think about this preparation phase a lot like mise en place in a high-end kitchen.
Oh, that's a good analogy.
You don't just throw raw ingredients at a master chef and hope a Michelin star meal comes out.
Exactly.
You prep, you chop, you measure, you organize, you curate the environment. But I have to make a vulnerable admission here. I still wrestle with prompt drift myself.
Oh, everybody does. It is the most common failure point.
Yeah.
Prompt drift happens because of how context windows function. If you don't anchor the model with a strict asset map and a rigid concept up front,
It just wanders off.
right, the AI starts hallucinating intermediate steps, its attention mechanism wanders. It might, invent a new font halfway down the page because it just lost the thread of your original stylistic constraints.
To counter that, the guide suggests a specific technical setting before you begin. You need to set Fable 5's effort level to high.
That is a crucial flag. Setting the effort to high forces the model into a more deliberate reasoning state.
It makes the AI thoroughly review your 10-section structure and your asset map conceptually before it attempts to write a single line of executable code. It is basically allocating more compute to planning.
There is another catch here regarding assets, specifically images.
Oh, yeah.
The guide is adamant about avoiding text baked into product images. No labels drawn onto the JPEGs.
Right.
Now, I understand that from a traditional web design standpoint, but why is it so critical when using an AI builder?
Because of how the AI constructs the document object model, the DOM.
Yeah.
If your text is trapped inside a flattened image file, the AI cannot manipulate it.
Ah.
More importantly, it destroys accessibility. Screen readers are completely blind to a JPEG of a button.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Plus, it breaks your mobile responsiveness. If a user shrinks their screen, baked-in text shrinks to an illegible smudge. All labels and interactive elements just have to be rendered as real HTML and CSS.
I hear that, but let me challenge this entire setup phase for a moment.
Okay.
If these models are so incredibly advanced, why shouldn't we just let Fable 5 design the layout from scratch? Wouldn't giving it a blank canvas save us a massive amount of preparation time?
It feels intuitive to just let the machine do the thinking, right? But a blank canvas prompt forces the AI to regress to the mean.
How so?
Well, LLMs are trained on vast data sets of the entire internet. The average website is terrible. It's generic.
Fair point.
If you don't constrain the AI, its probabilistic nature will just output a mathematical average of every standard boilerplate template it has ever seen. The constraints are what force it into the narrow, high-end probability space you actually want.
So constraints actually fuel the AI's creativity instead of limiting it.
Precisely. You are shifting your role from a front-end developer to a creative director. The boundaries you set are the actual design work.
2-sec silence. Let's move to the second phase of this process. We have our myths in place, we have our constraints. Now we need the master blueprint.
Yes.
This is where we craft one massive, hyper-detailed prompt.
Step 3 in the source guide revolves entirely around this mega prompt. The architecture of this prompt is very deliberate.
Yeah.
You provide the entire vision in a single comprehensive injection rather than, dripping it out over 20 small requests.
The granularity required here is intense. The prompt dictates a 10-section structure. Hero, manifesto, craftsmanship, the movement, the collection, limited edition, heritage, collector's words, private viewing, and the footer.
It's a lot. And it also locks in the precise brand styling. You aren't just saying make it dark.
Right.
You're defining a near black background, specific hex codes for orange accents, gold detailing, and ivory text.
It even pairs the typography. Cormorant Garamond for the headlines to establish that classic luxurious serif weight, and Manrope for the body text to maintain a clean, highly legible modern contrast.
But the true power of this mega prompt is how it handles the interaction design. You are explicitly asking for slow, cinematic scroll experience.
Yeah.
You define the sticky sections, you ask for soft parallax.
Let's quickly define that for clarity. Backgrounds moving slower than foregrounds to create a 3D depth illusion.
Exactly. It is a subtle effect, but it is the hallmark of luxury web design. The prompt also specifies text reveals as elements enter the viewport.
Right.
And perhaps the most vital instruction, it tells the AI not to use external media services or heavy video files to achieve this.
This brings up a serious question about how we interact with LLMs, though.
Okay.
Looking at this massive wall of text, wouldn't it be far less prone to error if we built this piecemeal, say, prompt the hero section, verify the code, then prompt the manifesto, verify that, and so on?
That is how most people naturally interact with chatbots. But it fails terribly for cinematic web design.
Why is that?
Think about the cascade of CSS and global state management. To build a cohesive, slow-scroll experience where a sticky section elegantly transitions into a parallax manifesto, the AI needs the global context of the entire DOM tree.
Right.
If you build it sequentially in isolation, the AI loses sight of the overarching aesthetic rhythm. The transitions become jarring and decoupled.
That makes total sense. It needs the full architectural blueprint to understand how the plumbing connects between floor 1 and floor 10.
Yes, perfectly said.
But speaking of plumbing, the prompt asks for a book, a private viewing call to action. How is Fable 5 supposed to handle a booking form without a real database hooked up to it?
This is where you have to explicitly manage the AI's scope. The prompt instructs Fable 5 to build front-end validation only.
Oh, I see.
It tells it to construct the form, validate that the user entered an email address, and display a polished success message. You were instructing it not to hallucinate a fake backend or try to wire up a dummy API.
Right, it builds the illusion of a working form, but no backend exists yet.
Exactly.
Yeah.
It isolates the build strictly to the user interface. It lets you perfect the client-side experience without tangling the AI and server-side logic that you don't even have an environment for yet.
Before we move into the actual build phase and see how the AI executes this massive prompt, a quick word from the folks who make this deep dive possible. We talk a lot about execution on this show, and whether you are building a cinematic front end or a massive data pipeline, having a reliable infrastructure is critical. That is why we are thrilled to partner with our current sponsor, who provides the seamless cloud environments necessary for modern development. When your tools just work, you can focus purely on your creative vision.
And that transition from vision to execution is exactly what happens next in Claude Code.
We are back to the process. We just fed Fable 5 the master blueprint. This next phase is where we transition from theory to execution.
Yeah.
And honestly, watching how the AI writes the code and self-corrects is just staggering.
Fable 5 takes that mega prompt and begins generating all the HTML, CSS, and JavaScript. And it does it within the context of your local file system, creating the directory structures and linking the assets you mapped out.
There is a very specific technical nuance the guide points out here. You do not need to ask the AI to lean on heavy animation libraries.
Right.
No GSAP, no Framer Motion, no Linus, or 3JS.
People often assume you need those heavy JavaScript libraries for cinematic movement. But modern vanilla CSS is incredibly powerful now.
Yeah.
Things like CSS scroll timeline and native intersection observers can handle complex reveals and sticky positioning. Fable 5 understands this.
It's wild.
Unless you are asking for highly complex 3D object manipulation, it can achieve that premium feel using native browser capabilities, which keeps the site incredibly fast.
It handles the desktop and mobile layout simultaneously, writing the media queries as it goes. But here is the mechanism that genuinely stopped me in my tracks.
What's that?
While it is building, Fable 5 doesn't just write code blindly. It spins up a live version of the site and reviews its own work. It runs 36 automated checks against the live DOM.
Whoa. Imagine it running 36 automated QA checks in seconds.
It is hard to wrap your head around. How is it fundamentally doing that? Is it just reading its own text output?
It is far more advanced than that. It is essentially using a headless browser, a web browser running in the background without a graphical user interface.
Okay.
It renders the code, parses the actual live DOM, and runs assertions against it.
So it's testing everything?
Yes. It checks the structural hierarchy. It tests the contrast ratios for accessibility. It measures the loading waterfall. It verifies that the call to action buttons are actually clickable.
And it isn't just generating a passive report. In the guide's test project, Fable 5 found a duplicate font download issue during these checks.
That's a great catch.
It realized 2 different CSS rules were fetching the same heavy font file, which causes render blocking delays. It autonomously rewrote its own CSS to consolidate the request, verified the fix, and continued building.
That self-reflective loop is the true lead forward here. It is acting as both the junior developer writing the code and the senior engineer conducting the code review simultaneously.
But this phase also introduces a major friction point. The guide calls it the sandbox trap.
Oh yeah, this trips up almost every first-time user. When Claude Code finishes the build and runs the preview server, it provides a local host link in the terminal.
Right.
Usually something like 127 or 0.0.1 on port 8080.
And when you click that link, it just times out. Your browser says the site can't be reached. Why won't that local link just open on the user's computer if the code is being generated right there?
It comes down to how Anthropic handles security and environment isolation. Claude Code isn't just executing random scripts natively on your laptop's operating system that would be a massive security vulnerability.
Sure.
Instead, it spins up a secure remote cloud container, a virtual machine. The website preview is running inside that isolated cloud environment, so when it gives you a 127.0.0.1 link, it means local to the AI's virtual machine, not your physical laptop.
Got it. The local link is trapped inside Claude's own virtual computer.
It is an air-gapped environment. To actually view the site, you have to bridge that gap. You have to explicitly prompt Fable 5 to publish a private artifact preview.
The fix is surprisingly simple once you know the architecture. You just tell it, publish the current OrmNoir website as a private artifact preview. Give me one direct link that I can open in my browser.
Exactly. That command packages the current state of the virtual container and exposes it via a secure external URL.
And then it works.
You click that artifact link, and suddenly you can experience the site natively in Chrome or Safari. You can actually feel the slow cinematic scroll and watch the text reveals happen.
Beat. Which brings us to the final phase. Step 6. You are looking at your private preview. It looks stunning. But we need a reality check on what it actually takes to finish a project like this.
The initial generation gets you 90% of the way there, but the last 10% is where the polish happens. You have to send a final cleanup prompt.
This final pass is all about auditing the details. You instruct the AI to sweep the entire code base and replace any lingering placeholder text with your approved assets.
Right.
You mandate a check on every image size and aspect ratio to ensure nothing is stretched, and you force it to compress any large files that might slow down the initial load time.
You also need to explicitly prompt it to verify reduced motion support.
Let's dig into that because it is an accessibility standard that often gets ignored.
Operating systems have a setting where users can prefer reduced motion. If someone suffers from vestibular disorders, heavy parallax and rapid text reveals can actually cause physical nausea.
Wow, yeah.
A high-end website must respect that system preference. By prompting Fable 5 to verify this, the AI injects prefers reduced motion media queries into the CSS, which gracefully degrades the complex animations into simple fades for those users.
The prompt also demands a rigorous final check on mobile responsiveness. The layout has to remain pristine on a 5-inch screen. But even after all of this polish, there is a hard truth about what AI front-end builders can and cannot do.
Yes, that beautiful artifact link is fundamentally just a temporary private preview server. It's not a live product.
I think about this like building a highly detailed $1 million concept car. It is sitting there on the showroom floor under the lights, the paint is flawless, the leather stitching is perfect, the aerodynamics are mathematically precise, it is breathtaking. But you still need to drop an engine into the chassis before you can actually drive it on the highway.
That analogy hits the nail on the head. The AI constructed a perfect chassis and interior. But public hosting, getting a real domain name, setting up CDN delivery, and building a functional back-end database, well, that is the engine.
Yeah.
If you want real luxury watch buyers to interact with Noir, you have to take the code out of Claude, host it on a public server, and connect that private viewing form to an actual database that processes the requests. The AI handles the interface, but the architectural plumbing is still your responsibility.
At this final publishing stage, when users are migrating the code and doing their final checks, what is the most common blind spot? Where do people fail?
It is almost entirely psychological. Users get completely mesmerized by the smooth desktop animations.
Sure.
They sit there scrolling up and down, watching the parallax effects on a large monitor, and they completely forget to open the developer console to check for hidden JavaScript errors. Or worse, they never test it on an actual physical smartphone.
Basically, don't let a beautiful desktop site hide a broken mobile experience.
The vast majority of your consumer traffic is going to hit that site on a phone. If the manifesto text reveals perfectly on a laptop, but the mobile navigation menu overlaps the logo and breaks on an iPhone, the illusion of luxury shatters instantly. The brand trust evaporates.
2-sec silence. Let's zoom out and look at the broader implications of what we've discussed today. We just traced a workflow where an AI built a highly stylized 10-section interactive cinematic website relying only on a folder of organized assets and a few highly structured prompts.
It forces us to completely reevaluate the bottlenecks in digital creation.
It does. But the overarching theme that keeps surfacing for me is that AI tools like Fable 5 are, at their core, incredibly capable execution engines.
Yeah.
They can calculate animation keyframes flawlessly, they can write perfect syntax, but the human remains the essential director of the entire production.
The model possesses no inherent taste. It has no lived human experience of what the concept of luxury actually feels like to a person.
Right.
It relies entirely on your curation. It was your choice to demand a near-black background rather than a stark white one. It was your selection of Cormorant Garamond to evoke a specific historical era of craftsmanship.
Your logic, your asset mapping, and your structured constraints are the only things separating a generic, forgettable web page from a deeply immersive cinematic experience. You might not be manually typing the CSS anymore, but you are entirely responsible for the soul of the project.
The technical barrier to entry for building complex, beautiful digital spaces has effectively dropped to zero. But because execution is now commoditized, the premium on human taste, curation, and editorial judgment has never been higher.
Which leaves us with a provocative new reality to consider. We are currently using these tools to build static, one-size-fits-all experiences. But if an AI can instantly write all the complex code for a cinematic front end based on a prompt, what happens next?
The cycle time continues to shrink.
Imagine a near future where the AI isn't just building the site once. What happens when the AI can instantly scrape a competitor's site, analyze a specific visitor's psychological conversion triggers, and dynamically rewrite and rebuild your website's entire cinematic front end in real time for every individual person who clicks your link?
Now that is a paradigm shift. The website stops being a destination and becomes a fluid, personalized conversation.
Something to think about the next time you sit down to curate your assets. You are no longer just building a page. You are learning to direct a machine that will eventually build reality on the fly. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive.